Most people don't realize it, but their daily behavior is quietly exposing a weak mind. Not through what they say, but through how they react, complain, and seek validation. In this video, you'll discover the hidden behaviors that reveal weakness, and how to eliminate them using powerful Stoic principles practiced by Marcus Aurelius. Stay till the end, because once you see these habits, you'll never look at yourself the same way again. Brain behaviors that reveal a weak mind. Stoicism. A weak mind is not about intelligence, it's about lack of control. Control over emotions, actions, and thoughts. Many people appear strong on the outside, but internally they are fragile, easily shaken by opinions, problems, and discomfort. Stoicism teaches us that true strength comes from within. It is built through discipline, awareness, and the ability to remain calm in chaos. The strongest individuals are not loud. They are steady, composed, and intentional. Before we go deeper, subscribe to this channel now for more powerful Stoic lessons that will help you build mental strength and transform your life. One of the clearest signs of a weak mind is the constant need for validation. When you depend on others to feel good about yourself, you give away your power. You begin to act based on approval rather than truth. Strong individuals do not chase validation. They build self-respect from within. They understand that confidence is not given, it is created through consistent action and discipline. Another behavior that exposes weakness is the inability to control emotions. Getting angry quickly, reacting impulsively, or allowing small situations to disturb your peace shows a lack of mastery. Stoics believed that while you cannot control what happens, you can always control how you respond. Emotional control is not suppression, it is awareness and choice. It is the ability to pause, think, and respond with clarity instead of reacting with chaos. Complaining is another habit that reveals a weak mindset. It may feel good in the moment, but it solves nothing. When you complain, you focus on problems instead of solutions. Strong individuals take responsibility. They accept reality and take action. They understand that complaining is a waste of energy that could be used to improve their situation. A weak mind also avoids discomfort. It chooses the easy path, the familiar routine, the comfortable life. But growth never happens in comfort. Stoicism teaches us to embrace hardship as training. Every challenge you face is an opportunity to become stronger. When you willingly face discomfort, you build resilience that cannot be broken. Another subtle but powerful sign of weakness is oversharing. Not everyone deserves access to your thoughts, your struggles, or your plans. When you reveal too much, you make yourself vulnerable to judgment and distraction. Strong individuals are selective. They speak with purpose. They understand that silence is often more powerful than words. Gossiping about others is also a clear indicator of a weak mind. It shows that you are more focused on others than on improving yourself. Stoics believed that your time and energy should be spent on self-mastery, not on criticizing others. When you stop talking about people and start working on yourself, your life begins to change. A weak mind is easily distracted. It struggles to focus, constantly jumping from one thing to another. In today's world, Distraction is everywhere. But the ability to focus is a superpower. Strong individuals protect their attention. They prioritize what matters and eliminate what doesn't. They understand that where attention goes, energy flows. Fear of failure is another behavior that keeps people weak. Many avoid taking risks because they are afraid of making mistakes. But failure is not the enemy, it is the teacher. Every successful person has failed, learned, and grown. Stoicism teaches us to accept failure as part of the journey. When you stop fearing failure, you start growing. Seeking constant comfort and avoiding responsibility is another sign of weakness. It is easy to blame others, to make excuses, to avoid accountability. But strong individuals take ownership of their lives. They don't blame, they build. They don't complain, they act. Responsibility is not a burden, it is power. Finally, forgetting who you are is the ultimate weakness. When you lose your values, your purpose, and your direction, you become easily influenced by the world around you. Stoics remained grounded in their principles no matter the situation. When you know who you are, nothing can shake you. A weak mind does not announce itself loudly. It hides in daily habits, small reactions, and unconscious behaviors that most people never question. You won't see it in someone's appearance. You won't hear it in what they claim to be. But if you observe closely, you'll notice it in how they respond to pressure, criticism, and discomfort. The truth is, most people are not mentally strong. They are simply untested. And this is exactly what Stoic thinkers like Marcus Aurelius tried to warn us about. He wrote that you have power over your mind, not outside events. But most people live the opposite way. They try to control everything around them while having no control over themselves. This is where weakness begins. A weak mind depends on circumstances. It feels good only when things are going well. It stays calm only when life is easy. But the moment something goes wrong, everything falls apart. Emotions take over. Decisions become impulsive. Regret follows. A strong mind, on the other hand, is different. It remains steady, even when everything else is unstable. It doesn't panic. It doesn't break. It observes, adapts, and responds with clarity. And the difference between the two is not talent. It is training. One of the most dangerous behaviors that reveals a weak mind is the constant need to be understood by everyone. There is this silent desire to explain yourself, to make people see your intentions, to ensure that no one misunderstands you. But here's the truth most people don't accept. Not everyone will understand you, and that's okay. When you constantly try to explain yourself, you become emotionally dependent on other people's perception. You begin to shape your actions based on how they might interpret them. And slowly, without realizing it, you lose your authenticity. A strong mind doesn't waste energy on unnecessary explanations. It acts with clarity and lets actions speak. It understands that being misunderstood is part of life. And more importantly, it accepts it. Another subtle but powerful sign of weakness is reacting instantly to everything. Someone says something negative, you respond immediately. Something goes wrong, you panic instantly. This lack of pause is dangerous. Because in that small space between stimulus and response lies your power. Most people never develop this space. They live in reaction mode. Everything triggers them. Everything demands an immediate response. And because of this, they are constantly controlled by external events. Stoicism teaches the opposite. It teaches delay. It teaches observation. It teaches control. When something happens, pause. Don't rush to respond. Let your mind process. Let your emotions settle. Because the strongest responses are never rushed. They are chosen. A weak mind also seeks comfort in blame. When things go wrong, it looks outward. It blames people, circumstances, bad luck, or timing. Blame feels good in the moment because it removes responsibility. But it also removes power. Because the moment you blame something outside yourself, you lose the ability to change your situation. A strong mind does something different. It asks a simple but powerful question: what could I have done better? This question is uncomfortable. It forces you to confront your own limitations. But it also gives you control. And control is the foundation of strength. There is also a quiet weakness in always needing to be entertained. Strong mind does something different. It asks a simple but powerful question: what could I have done better? This question is uncomfortable. It forces you to confront your own limitations. But it also gives you control. And control is the foundation of strength. There is also a quiet weakness in always needing to be entertained. Constant scrolling, endless distractions, the inability to sit in silence. Most people are uncomfortable with their own thoughts. That's why they fill every moment with noise. But silence reveals truth. When you sit alone with your thoughts, you begin to understand yourself. Your fears, your desires, your weaknesses, they all become visible. And this is exactly why many avoid it. A strong mind embraces solitude. It uses silence as a tool for growth. It reflects, analyzes, and improves. Because without reflection, there is no progress. Another behavior that exposes weakness is inconsistency. Starting strong but quitting early. Making promises but failing to follow through. Consistency is not exciting. It is repetitive. It is often boring. But it is also what builds strength. A weak mind seeks quick results. It wants progress without effort, success without discipline. And when it doesn't get immediate results, it gives up. A strong mind understands that real growth takes time. It shows up daily, even when motivation is gone. Because discipline is stronger than motivation. There is also weakness in avoiding difficult conversations. Choosing silence when something needs to be said. Ignoring problems instead of confronting them. This avoidance may feel like peace, but it is actually fear. True strength is not about avoiding conflict. It is about handling it with calmness and clarity. A strong mind speaks when necessary. Not with anger, not with emotion, but with control. Because sometimes, silence is strength. But sometimes, speaking is knowing the difference is what matters. If you're still watching, it means you're serious about growth. Most people would have clicked away by now, but you didn't. So take a moment right now. Subscribe to this channel for more powerful Stoic lessons that will help you build a strong, disciplined, and unshakable mind. Because this is just the beginning. A weak mind often hides behind excuses that sound reasonable. It says, "I'll start tomorrow," or, "Now is not the right time." And the dangerous part is that these excuses feel logical. They don't sound like weakness, they sound like planning. But in reality, they are delay. And delay, repeated over time, becomes a habit. A habit of postponing growth, postponing discipline, postponing change. This is how people stay stuck for years without realizing it. Stoic thinkers like Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded themselves that time is limited. Not in a dramatic way, but in a practical way. Every day is an opportunity. And every delay is a missed chance to become better. A strong mind doesn't wait for the perfect moment. It creates it. Another behavior that quietly reveals weakness is comparing yourself to others. Looking at someone else's success and feeling inadequate. Measuring your progress against someone else's journey. Comparison creates pressure, insecurity, and distraction. Because you are no longer focused on your path, you are focused on theirs. A weak mind gets lost in this cycle. It constantly checks where it stands, constantly feels behind, constantly questions its own value. But a strong mind understands something important. Everyone is on a different timeline. Instead of comparing, it competes with itself. It asks, "Am I better than I was yesterday?" That question alone removes distraction and creates focus. There is also weakness in needing constant reassurance. Asking others, "Is this good enough? Do you think I'm doing the right thing?" At first, it may seem like seeking advice. But often, it is something deeper. It is a lack of trust in your own judgment. When you depend too much on reassurance, you slowly lose confidence in your ability to decide. A strong mind listens, learns, and considers advice, but it makes its own decisions. It trusts its reasoning. It accepts that mistakes are part of growth. Because confidence is not built by always being right, it is built by learning from being wrong. Another hidden behavior of a weak mind is avoiding responsibility when things become difficult. It starts something with excitement, but the moment it becomes challenging, it steps back. This creates a cycle of unfinished efforts. And over time, this cycle builds doubt. You begin to question yourself. You lose trust in your ability to complete what you start. A strong mind does the opposite. It finishes, even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient, even when it no longer feels exciting. Because finishing builds identity. It tells your mind, "I am someone who follows through." And that belief changes everything. A weak mind also struggles with patience. It wants results immediately. It wants progress to be visible right away. But most valuable things in life take time. Skill takes time. Discipline takes time. Growth takes time. When results are slow, a weak mind becomes frustrated. It begins to doubt the process. It loses motivation. But a strong mind stays committed. It understands that progress is not always visible. That improvement is often happening beneath the surface. It keeps going, even when there is no immediate reward. Because it trusts the process. Another powerful sign of weakness is taking everything personally. Someone disagrees with you, you feel attacked. Someone criticizes you, You feel offended. This reaction creates unnecessary emotional weight. Not everything is about you. Sometimes people speak from their own experiences, their own struggles, their own perspectives. And when you take everything personally, you carry emotions that don't even belong to you. A strong mind separates itself from external opinions. It listens, evaluates, and decides what is useful. It doesn't absorb everything, it filters. There is also weakness in constantly seeking comfort in familiar routines, even when those routines are limiting your growth. It feels safe to stay where you are, to do what you've always done, to avoid the unknown. But growth requires movement. A weak mind resists change because it fears uncertainty. It prefers predictable discomfort over unpredictable opportunity. A strong mind embraces change. It understands that discomfort is temporary, but growth is permanent. And so it moves forward, even when it's uncertain. Another behavior that reveals weakness is speaking more than listening. Always wanting to be heard, but rarely taking time to understand others. This habit limits learning, because when you speak, you repeat what you already know. But when you listen, you gain something new. A weak mind focuses on expression. A strong mind focuses on understanding. It listens carefully. It observes deeply. It learns continuously. And because of this, it grows faster. Fire mid-video reminder. If you're still here, you're not just watching, you're learning. And that already puts you ahead of most people. So take the next step. Subscribe now for more Stoic wisdom that will help you build discipline, clarity, and mental strength. Because what you're learning here, most people will never take the time to understand. A weak mind also avoids self-reflection. It moves from one day to another without ever asking, "What did I do wrong?" Or, "How can I improve?" Without reflection, mistakes repeat. Growth requires awareness, and awareness comes from honest evaluation. A strong mind takes time to reflect, not to criticize itself, but to improve. It looks at its actions, its decisions, its reactions, and learns from them. Because every day is a lesson, if you choose to see it that way. There is also weakness in letting fear dictate your actions. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of rejection. These fears are natural. Everyone feels them, but a weak mind obeys them. It stays silent when it should speak. It holds back when it should act. It avoids opportunities because of imagined outcomes. A strong mind feels fear, but moves anyway. It understands that fear is not a signal to stop. It is a signal to prepare. And by facing fear repeatedly, it becomes smaller over time.